You're watching the Coast to Coast Sports Show. It was all a dream. Something like 44 years ago, I stood in this very field. We're here at St. Norbert Immersion School in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where it all began. Yeah, so this is kind of cool. I mean, 1970, I'm starting to date myself here, but back in St. Norbert, and we're going to be driving past the birth house here right away. Bring back a lot of memories. You know, I used to have my godparents over on the street here. My parents wouldn't really let me off the block to go too far because I'd get into trouble, but yeah, it's kind of cool. It's going to be coming up right here just past the trees, 182. They've obviously changed the color of the house now. It used to be green and white.
So what was it like growing up out here?
You know, it's a French community. And it wasn't bad, you know, we kept ourselves out of trouble, and we kind of did what we needed to do. I remember it was so cold because we're from the Caribbean that my mom would walk me to this bus stop here that we're going to be coming up to right away, and we would stand there waiting for the school bus to come. Yeah, we'll be pulling up to that right here. Man, this brings back a lot of memories. This is when you could ride your bike and go around the street and get into trouble here. Right at the corner here is where we used to load for the bus. And the bus would pick us up and take this route to St. Norbert Immersion. You know, later in life, it always helps you when you know two different languages, and that's definitely one thing that I'm happy about growing up in St. Norbert. It's always stuck with me. And like I said, it's a very small, safe community. So when it was time to push on after 10 years old, kind of moved up the street here to a different area, which was Fort Richmond. You know, coming here when I was about 10, 11 years old and my parents building this house, it gave me the opportunity to learn a lot and see a lot. Things that we're missing today, like having a trade. You know, having a trade is a really good way to support your family if you can't do anything in your career. And these are things that we have to do, you know, each one teach one, so that we get better with each generation. So obviously the chain got a little longer here. I was able to ride my bike a little bit further and do some more things when we moved up, just like the Jeffersons. And you know, coming back here still brings a lot of memories, because it was my adolescence all the way through my teenage years until I left to go to Ottawa and play basketball on the hill. So here's going to be the house coming up right on the corner here, number 3 Point West Drive. So, Waverly Heights. What can I say? I think some of my most memorable and best years came out of this area. I met so many amazing and great people. And one thing I really love about Canada is that we are a true mosaic. So a lot of these people from this area stuck with me all the way from my adolescence through my adult life. And can't really say that I know too many schools that have a strong alumni like Vincent Massey does. And we've always stayed together, and I think that's terrific. Coming up here to our left shortly, you'll be seeing Arthur Leach. And I think I was a little bit before my time all the time, because even when I was in grade 7 here, I ended up playing for the grade 9 team. So my skill level was never really anything that held me back. Like I said, I was always ahead of it, and it just made me the person that I was to prepare me to go to Ontario. So leaving Arthur Leach was a little bit of, I don't want to say a turbulent time, but I wanted to grow my wings and really show who I was. I felt that, playing against the guys that I've been beating for so many years from Acadia, if I went to Fort Richmond, maybe we could be the better team, better than Vincent Massey. So I came up here for my grade 10 year. I just didn't play freshman. I played varsity and freshman, both in the same year. And man, did we used to run on them. But the problem was that this was just too small of a school, and if I really wanted to do something bigger and better, I had to spread my wings. So in grade 11 and 12, I decided to go to Vincent Massey just up the road, and that's really when I started to say nothing was going to stop me, and I knew for a fact that I was going to go beyond Winnipeg. We're passing Fort Richmond here from a different perspective now. Something that was really cool back in the day was University of Manitoba had an airplane hangar that was actually called Bison East. And we used to go there on Sundays, and I guess the best players in the city would just be like a melting pot. I'd actually call it the Rucker of Winnipeg, because the best of the best would play there. It didn't matter if you're blind, crippled, crazy, 8 to 80. If you could play basketball, you'd be on that court. So I learned a lot of my craft and my practice from there. And these are things that just could not be duplicated again. So when I reminisce and I think about Winnipeg, I definitely think about old Bison East.
Was that one of your better experiences?
As far as Winnipeg's concerned, yeah, because like I said, you just can't duplicate that by today's standards. It was either you're part of yesteryear or not, and only the people from that time will be able to put some type of correlation together about it.
Young to old, when it comes to bullying, nobody wins. During this period of social distancing, take the time to really reconnect with your loved ones. Let's talk.
So here we are, sitting in the parking lot of Vincent Massey Collegiate. One of the greatest things that have ever happened to the sport of basketball in Winnipeg was the Fort Garry Invitational Tournament. There was teams from all across the country that came into Winnipeg in order to play in this invitational. Now, you couldn't just submit to get into this tournament. You had to be invited, and that's the difference. This has gone by wayside, it's folded, and it's unfortunate, but I'm such an advocate for the sport. I'd love to see something like this return. Now, you know, we couldn't get into a lot of trouble back in the day, because right here to our right is District 6 Police Station. That definitely kept everybody in check at this high school. firmly knew from the time that I came here in grade 11 and grade 12 that I would definitely go above and beyond Winnipeg for the sport of basketball. But I was definitely able to practice my craft here at the school and continue my relationship with a lot of lifelong friends that came out of the Waverly Heights, Fort Richmond area. I can't say enough. This sport moment brought to you by Canadian Heritage.
Our own leagues and that. I thought we did. I really did.
Well, CFL we do.
Yeah, but that's it.
That's it. So NHL, yeah, we do. But the thing is that if you're
we don't have basketball teams.
no,
right?
no, we have the National Basketball League of Canada, but it doesn't stretch any further past Ontario.
Oh, they don't go to
I
the
have
States?
if I want to play,
Yeah.
and I'm from Winnipeg, I don't have. I have to go to Ontario. I have to leave my nest at 17 years old. I'm a kid. How the fuck am I supposed to navigate my way without mentorship?
So you mean to tell me like Canadian basketball players don't ever play in the States?
Well, they do. You could get offered to go play in the States, but you have to write an SAT, ACT, to be able to go down there and play. Typically, you'll go down there and be a red shirt, and you're facing all these extra obstacles that Americans aren't.
Oh.
So if we took the opportunity to develop our own backyard,
Yeah. Then there wouldn't be.
then
all
we
that
would
red tape.
have these athletes here. You know, there was something called the Carter effect. Vince Carter came to play for the Toronto Raptors, and what it did is it started all these athletes that you see in the NBA today that are stars. They've won championship rings. They're huge faces of teams right now, and that's because we have Vince Carter that gave us that opportunity to believe that we could be something greater than who we are. But now that we've had these athletes, when they come back home, when they retire, they need to strengthen our country and develop a league. But they don't. They just retire, or we don't think about it, and we move forward.
Thanks. I never thought about that for basketball. I mean, I've seen basketball play. Like my son was playing basketball and at the Duckworth Center, and was being scouted.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, fingers crossed. But like the guy said, it's very nil that you'll find someone that will come out of here and hit the NBA or.
Well, it's very nil, but it's very political. And how that starts is that, let's say, basketball Manitoba, basketball Ontario, basketball whoever has a father, a grandfather, a uncle, somebody running that organization. It's political because they're going to push their agenda. They don't care that there might be somebody in the North End that's better than their kid that can play better.
That's what I mean. There's players out here that aren't even just known because there's no revenue or avenue for them to go and show their
talents.
Now
Now there is something called North Pole Hoops that has come around in the past 25 years, but once again, I'm not shunning them, but I am saying pushing their own agenda. There might be one or two or a handful of athletes that will come out of our country and get pushed to the U.S., but it doesn't necessarily help the Canadians. When you're 18 and 19, you're still young, you're green, your body, your mind is developing.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
A lot of these players at 21, 22 are developing and they're moving on. And that's what we need right now. We need the expansion. We need the expansion of those leagues, the expansion of the growth, the expansion of the sponsorship, the funding, the endorsements, those things to keep it going. But if there's big money in Canada, huge, because you see it with hockey.
Yeah, with hockey, when I'm saying basketball, you don't see it out here. Like I've never really noticed basketball out here until I met you. I started learning more about things that I have no idea.
Now this is off the record. This is one of those things about racism again that I'm going to talk about that's a bit of slap in your face.
Okay. I like hearing what you're saying too because it educates myself.
Right.
I'm older than you and it educates me even.
So we just lived through this, right? We just lived through Christmas 2020.
Yeah.
and we were sitting at home scratching, biting the nail. We got all put on to code red. We couldn't leave the house.
Yeah, it was very.
But the thing that was a slap in the face as a Canadian, a black Canadian more than anything to me, was the fact that World Junior Hockey got a chance to play. And the reason why I say that is when you look at the NHL, when you look at the NBA, these are professional athletes, people that have mortgages. They need to pay because this is their job.
Oh yeah, I had seen it on the news. They had showed that they were allowing them to play.
Right. Now this is their job. But I'm talking about amateur hockey. Amateur hockey. These World Juniors, these juniors are not getting paid to play. They might be
nothing.
Right. And they're not even to say that they are veterans or military that are going to fight for our country.
Well, I seen the clip. That's where we went and recorded, right? By the SIDELINES down there.
Right. So now you tell me, why would a sport like hockey get a pass to be able to play when no other amateur sport in our country, CFL, and that's professional, but amateur to the NFL.
Yeah. And these kids that were playing, they don't have, like you said, they don't have mortgages. They don't.
No.
Some of them might have kids, maybe, but they don't have what you or me have as a grown adult. And these players, professional players, they got to feed their kids. They got to pay their rent, their mortgage, their bills.
Right. So being a Canadian from adolescence, growing up, and telling me that everything is equal, and then in my face in 2020, the year of perfect vision, I am seeing that in this cold world we are not equal.
No, I agree.
There is an underlying racism that is in our country, and that's why I'm here to talk about these things today. The white elephant, pardon the pun, in the room.
Yeah.
Let's get back to it.
All right.
Mother Nature versus Father Time. Mother Nature is so nurturing. Well, she's helped us grow up from youth into the strong individuals that we are today. But Father Time is like old man winter, just beats us up, drains us over time. It's the constant battle that we live with as athletes day to day when we hit the hardwood. Do we want to play through our careers to become professionals, or do we want to focus more on the business side of the sport and help the future? This is something that I was ripped apart by in my youth, and even 25 years later hasn't changed. That's what we're going to get in today, real talk. My family came from Trinidad and Tobago, late 60s, early 70s. They came over to this country, this beautiful country called Canada. We've had great experiences here throughout the years. The things I love about Canada is that we're treated as a mosaic. We are a mosaic, and we're treated somewhat equal. But there has been experiences that I've lived through sport, everyday life, that has affected me, and primarily because of the color of my skin. During the month of February, we are celebrating Black History Month, and there's no time like now to talk about pandemics. The pandemic of COVID-19, the pandemic of Black Lives Matter. And today in sport, we're going to show you how all this ties together, and we're still being bashed continually, even though we feel that we should be treated equal. During such uncertain times, we at Coast to Coast Sports want to spread some joy through the power of sport. For every cloud has a silver lining. It has often been said, nothing nourishes the world greater than food. It helps to provide both substance and comfort and so much more. In support of racial equality, part of our mission statement is to fundraise using our platform to create change. Cinnamon rolls consist of white flour and brown sugar and everything yummy mixed in between, like ebony and ivory blended in perfect harmony.
Provide your support by simply logging on to momspantry.ca. Order number 316798. Our passcode is 43132. There you can select from numerous items, but the one that really hits home are our cinnamon rolls and spread. Yummy. All proceeds raised will go to support Black Lives Matter Canada. Do your part and be a community changer.
So years ago, as far back as I can think, growing up in St. Norbert, Winnipeg, scrawny little black kid, but I kept working out, doing the things that I needed to do because I loved one thing, the sport of basketball. This was a love and hate relationship with me growing up. Sometimes it gave, sometimes it took away. The things that forced me to get to where I did and pushed me was things like scraping my knee, getting beat up by my older brother on the driveway, moving forward, all of those things. But one day you surpass, you get better, you keep growing, you're looking for more. And that's exactly what I did. But when I hit 18, a couple of things happened. I had no guidance. I needed that guidance. I needed somebody to pull me aside and tell me that my credit was going to be the most important thing to me for the rest of my life. When I finally got to Ottawa, what a great experience. 18 years old, from Midwest Canada, getting an opportunity to play with some of the best in our country. I mean, my gosh, I was registered at Carleton University. They have such a historic tradition for winning championships in our country. I think it's something like 13 over a 15-year span, unheard of in North America, and I'm happy to be part of that bread. But with that said, there's also parts where I was failed. I was failed through the system, lack of conformity, nobody taking me aside during Frosh Week and telling me that those 5 different credit cards that were set aside for $500, if I didn't pay on them, it would affect me for the rest of my life. Thank God I've landed on my feet. But I'm here today to provide real talk to youth, especially colored youth that's coming up in the system, that need to understand from the time that they're 16, 17, this is not the beginning of their life, this is their life. Be able to buy a car, be able to buy a house, real talk. And I'm going to be the martyr that's going to bring that to you today, right after this commercial break.
Manitoba Mornings with Jordan and Garth on NCIFM.
All right, 8:27, and we're back here. Dwight Jaffeth, and we're actually joined by a third fellow as well. We have a lot to kind of get to here. Kevin Robinson, the other person joining us.
Well, we're here for a Veterans Tribute.
Okay.
Kevin called us up. Kevin from Winnipeg Super Sports Network called us up and invited us to come down. And when he spoke to Dwight and told me about it, I was very excited to come here and take part.
You've both played, yes, to some level, some college, I understand, Carleton University, national champion. Right. Yeah. Tell us about that. What's your pedigree there?
From Ottawa.
Yeah.
Grew up in Ottawa most of my life.
Sure.
Went to Carleton University. Dave Smart was my coach. Played my years there. I actually met Kevin there my first year. He was at Carleton as well on the basketball team. So we played together my first year and won a championship there at Carleton. Went on to play overseas in Iceland and then played.
All Canadian. Stop leaving out that. All Canadian. Say it. Say it.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Say it.
You win it. You own it. Yeah.
I was all right in my day, yeah. I was all right. I used to like to score the basketball.
Yeah, it was a good program there for quite some time, eh?
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, for sure. And
I coach there now as well.
Oh, do you? Very nice,
yes.
very nice. Now, we also have the diversity of literacy thing here. Kevin, can you jump in? Tell us a little bit about that. Just swing the mic over there and perfect.
Yeah, so Midwest Basketball League players such as Japheth and Dwight lending themselves to come down to Winnipeg to play for the Manitoba Drive Basketball Club team, as we'll be taking on the Armed Forces later today. part of our mandate is that we engage ourselves into the community to speak with children about diversity and literacy, which are very hot topics these days. So that is the purpose on why over the lunch hour we're going to be at Gordon Bell High School. And then we'll continue the event on into the evening with a full roster of games. So we'd like to get people out and support.
For sure, and that's just at Gordon Bell High here in Winnipeg. And you're playing, you say, the Armed Forces team?
Yes. So what we do every year is we have a tribute to the veterans. So this happens to be our tribute this year. Obviously, it can't fall on the 11th,
right?
Because everybody's in service and paying homage. So we go 1 week off, and we still call it Tribute Week.
Sure.
So it's a terrific time for the sport of basketball and to be able to play members of the armed forces.
So what's your approach then if it's kind of a game honoring them? Do you let them win, or do you?
Well, you know, these types of games, exhibition games, always are a lot of fun for everybody. It's supposed to be very light, family fun to take away stress for some families that were also, you know, veterans that have served and active members of the armed forces. So we want to take that stress away from them. So we just want to make it light and fun. But usually when it comes down to the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game, there's a little bit of competitiveness there. So we'll see what happens.
All right. If people want to get out there and see it's today, can you just roll into Gordon Bell, get tickets, or how does this work?
Yeah, well, they can log online.
Okay.
There is an option there at winnipegsupersports.net.
All right.
Where they could purchase tickets. The gym is going to fill up fairly fast for watching Japheth and also wanting to connect with Dwight here. He'll be quite animated on the side as well. You know, we just want to get them down and make sure that we have an awesome game.
During this most recent pandemic, it's been an eye-opener. At least it should be to us Canadians that love our sports. That eye-opener should be that the CFL did not operate. One of the strongest reasons for that is because a lot of the players are American, and we haven't taken the time over the past 25 years or even longer than that to develop our own players in our own backyard, so that if COVID did hit, we could have had a Canadian Football League despite the fact that we didn't have Americans in Canada. Notwithstanding that, basketball, we have to be one of the only countries in the world that doesn't have a true coast-to-coast professional basketball league, like the CFL. Dumbfounded, huh? We are a first world country. We have billionaires, millionaires, thousandaires in our country, and yet no support. Now, look, I'm not here to talk about Canada, US, Mexico. I'm here to talk about North America. I'm here to talk about unity. I'm here to talk about how we put our pants on one leg at a time, men and women. Every generation has to get a little bit better. We're looking for the solution. But in our country of Canada, that doesn't work. Because from the hierarchy, which is the sports that control how things move, the government, it bogs us down. We need to have black athletes, black leaders fueling black athletes of the future, scholarships, developing these programs so that things could change in the next 25 years. When we come back from our commercial break, I'm going to tell you exactly how we can get involved. I'm going to tell you a great story about Canadian hockey history and how this unity can propel us to move forward to have all the things that we've been deprived of.